It is no news that World Cup host countries often spend billions of dollars just for the one-month-long soccer tournament.
Costly as it is, the competition to become the host is unexpectedly tough, with 3 to 5 nations competing for the bidding process.
Corruption even allegedly occurs to ensure a nation can seize the opportunity of organizing World Cup, which forced the FIFA to modify the bidding mechanism. So, what makes almost every country crazy for the host position? Increasing foreign investment? Or foresting global trade? Boosting national tourism or enhancing people awareness of keeping fit are often cited as the reason. However, it is true that the reasons exist as the possible impact proportionate to the negative ones. We are about to find out. Organizing World Cup would affect much on trading of hosting country. The first dimension needed to care about is services. Hosting country focus much on the improvement infrastructure and ignores other service categories. Placing too much emphasis on sport can lead to a waste of money.
There is no denying that compared to sport events, education, healthcare services, and transportations are higher on the agenda. Therefore, allocating resources to construct stadiums, renovating infrastructures is unnecessary investments, especially when these improvements are only used on specific sport occasions.
In addition, enhancing sport facilities to fulfill the needs of sport teams can result in less money available for other categories which are worth prioritizing expenditure on. Therefore, national authorities should be careful when making decisions to host sport events, as it could have adverse effects on citizens who are in need of government subsidies. During the World Cup in Rio, bring fresh reports of protests breaking out on the streets of Brazil. We need school, not stadium. Read the placard. FIFA go home. And who is the cups for? Especially the case of South Africa. They conclude that the increase in tourism in South Africa wasn't worth the cost of building the stadium for the tournament. About 300,000 additional tourists traveled to South Africa in 2010, they found, but South Africa spent some $3.9 billion building new facilities. Most of those stadiums are no longer in use, and some have been demolished, as the same as Brazil case. Brazil's 72,000 seats main Garniture Stadium is now used primarily as a municipal bus parking lot. Additionally, the tourists would have to have spent an average of $13,000 each while they were in South Africa. That's unlikely, particularly since any money they spent on tickets for match would have gone to FIFA, not the local economies. Changing tourism patterns. Second, major sport events certainly attract thousands of sports fans, but they may disrupt established tourist flows and end up driving traffic away from popular sites and attractions. As to whether this tournament boosts overall tourist number, the evidence may point to the contrary.
Applying the same way as World Cup, in both Beijing and London, years-on-year visits decreased in their Olympic Games. In 2008 and 2012 respectively, while the UK's most popular museum, the British Museum, saw 22% fewer visitors during the month that the game was held. The British government own evaluations after the Olympic Games concluded that there was substantial displacement of regular visitors who were deterred by the potentials for overcrowding, disruptions, and price rises.
Even when tourism does increase, it doesn't necessarily produce a parietal gain because there is a spend associated with attracting visitors. The unexpected loss got a facility for World Cup. Before the 2010 World Cup in South Africa, there was predicted that around 450,000 tourists would enter the country for the tournament. In the end, only two-thirds sold out. Despite the reduced number, visitor spend increased by almost a quarter, but at a cost of acquisition to the South African government of up to $13,000. For roughly the same amount, the country would have paid the wages of the entire working-age population for a week. Indeed, it's hard to determine where the money that tourists spend ends up. Hotel prices rise during sold-out events, but wages of service workers do not necessarily go up by the same amount, meaning the returns of capital are likely greater than those to labor. Looking ahead to Russia, analysts anticipate that economic gains from hosting the 2018 World Cup will mainly benefit the tourist industry, but have described them as being so negligible that they are equivalent to that of a statistical error. Tournaments like the World Cup can be a zero-sum game. Fans will come, but other tourists are put off traveling and won't visit. Consider South Africa. 309,000 visitors entered the country during the 2010 World Cup. The monthly average for the rest of the year was closer to 620,000 entrants. One university allocated 92,000 bed nights worth of rooms to the World Cup. Just prior to the event, FIFA booking agency returned to 91,000 nights beds unused.
When talking about the impact of hosting FIFA World Cup on international trade, especially on the export and import of goods and services, there are totally two main impacts. They are the impacts on companies' activities and the impacts on the flow of exported and imported goods. For example, in case of Russia, when hosting World Cup 2018, according to the press office of the Russian Ministry of Transport, trade restrictions introduced for the World Cup were initially approved by the Russian President Putin. In the decrees from the 9th of May 2017, it includes a variety of dangerous goods, including explosive, poison, as well as certain chemical and biological agents. In fact, this change must take place during the periods before and during the FIFA World Cup 2018. Russia had decided to suspend the handling of dangerous goods in 2 months starting from 25th of May to 25th of July to ensure about the safety in this global event. Changes in general have a big impact on companies. The supply chain will have to change its course of operation, and if improved changes in a shorter time will result in major damage to the machinery. Dangerous goods are expensive items, so the amount of money received will be less when paused. In Russia in 2018, the port management firm Bronco said the enhanced safety order would affect commodity flows. He estimated that dangerous cargo accounted for an average of 8 to 10% of all containers of the St. Petersburg seaport, so the drop in the flow would be noticeable. Secondly, orienting the flow of exported and imported goods is changed because of hosting World Cup. In order to ensure that the import and export activity will not be affected by the World Cup, Russia will change the direction of imported and exported of goods. Although no company has confirmed that serious problems occur, we will see in-depth insights on the international impact. Indeed, It will take time and money to hire a freighman from new location to the warehouse due to the distance. Furthermore, we also know that besides two main negative impacts on the hosting countries, there is still an impact that imports and export will not be as focused as before the World Cup take place in the hosting countries. As country focused, they will build facility or spend a huge amount of money to prepare for the World Cup. Hence, it is very noticeable for the World Cup hosting country if they still don't focus more on import and export of goods and services.
Besides the negative impacts on trade, we also saw the same situation in finance. The economic impacts of major sport events like Olympic Games or FIFA World Cup are very difficult to predict. Thus, there are no 100% guarantee that particular mega events may bring more positive outcomes rather than negative ones. For example, organizing such events may lead to the difficulty in the life low-income population. As soon as a particular country or city have won a bid for major sport event, the preparation is started. New infrastructure and sport facilities will be created for the event. At that moment, government usually stop how building works and sometimes evicts residents in order to build up new stadium and roads needed for the mega event. That is a huge lot of money for the government. Furthermore, it may negatively influence the social life of the country because a lot of people will have to allocate it to other places, probably more expensive than the previous one. The real case is 2014 Brazil World Cup. Brazil had not a full discontent in Rio when the country and citizens faced the extremely large cost for holding World Cup in June of 2014. According to Terrorist Home, 170,000 people lost their homes during the preparation for this summer's World Cup in Brazil due to the building or renovation of stadiums, roads, airports, and other infrastructure projects. It also says that thousands of families were forcibly resettled in many houses without any electricity and water. It's warned that uprooting strongly increased the risk of families falling into poverty.
When you look at the fact of big sports events including World Cup, I think it is easy to see host nations can hit the worst off. It heavily costs nations to hold such major events. They must pay a social cost as well as a high financial price. This then has a kick-on effect in the amount of social provision host nation can give the people. That is, I want to say here that holding World Cup is not just paying big money, but also can influence negatively on social welfare and the people life in hosting nations. I would like to mention 2014 World Cup in Brazil here. The estimates of the total cost to Brazil's public budget were between 5 billion to 7 billion US dollar. This huge amount is roughly equivalent to the cost of social welfare program named Bolsa Familiar in 2013, which supports 50 million people. We should know from this that is the amount of money to help great number of citizens, and the one for just an event World Cup did not have big gap. There's one more thing. We should know that despite FIFA takes tax breaks and exemption from World Cup host nations, also gets billions of dollars out of the event, host nations have to pay for all of the infrastructure needed even when the cost is so huge that its life can be trillions.
Another concern Dorothy Home has is around the banning of local people selling food, drink and trinkets on the street around the stadium. The FIFA has the host organizer to only allow licensed products from its own sponsor to be sold in the stadium in France. As everyone knows, all nations need to pay so much for holding one cup. In the case of Brazil, the problem causing such protests was that the people did not and could not approve the terrible expenditures on such a sport event, even if it a world class of their national sport one. Since the nation has serious issues to influence on almost of society, for example, inequality, lack of housing, and unemployment. It is natural that the citizens' heart and a given society, the quality of their life can be improved by using money, not for one cup, but for addressing the issues a majority of the population face. Following the historical trend, many corruption allegations have surfaced in the lead-up to this year's World Cup. One such example, according to a report by a city auditor, is that the cost to build a stadium in Brazil was $636 million, a 68% increase compared to the initial projected cost. Andrea Gutierrez S.A., the builder of the stadium, chose not to comment on the great irregularities found in the report. These abnormalities, such as transportation being overbuilt and a 12.1% loss rate on steel, were a source on the distended budget. Despite all the undesirable impacts listed, to some nations the advantages that World Cup bring about still outweigh the disadvantages. We explain why there are a number of countries competing for the host position. However, they should take the risks in consideration before exchanging their strategic financial and economic plans just for a few short-term benefits.